All right, let's jump right in and master 25 more words that are absolutely essential for your IBA admission test. We're going to group them together, break down what makes them different, and show you exactly how to use them. Let's get to it. Now, to make all of this easier to remember, we've organized the words into 5 simple groups. We'll kick things off with strong, positive feelings, then switch over to the negative ones. After that, we'll get into the super important difference between what's real and what's fake. Then we'll look at words for digging up the truth, and we'll finish up with some really handy words for everyday situations. Okay, let's start with our first group. These are some powerful words that you'll use to talk about big positive emotions. We're talking everything from pure happiness to the deepest, most profound admiration. So let's start with ecstatic and euphoric. Now, both of these just mean very, very happy. But there's a small difference. Ecstatic is that sudden burst of joy. Like, I was ecstatic when I saw my test score. Euphoric is a bit deeper. It's a more intense, long-lasting feeling, almost like you're walking on air. You might say, finishing the marathon gave me a euphoric feeling for days. So think of ecstatic as the immediate high, and euphoric is that sustained, powerful joy. Okay, next up, 3 words that describe how we connect with and feel about other people. First, we have resonate. When a story or an idea resonates with you, it just clicks, it feels true, and it connects with your own feelings. Then there's extol. To extol someone is to praise them with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, usually in front of other people. And finally, we have revere. To revere someone means you have incredible respect and admiration for them, almost like they're a hero. So here's how you might see these words in a business context, which is super common on the IBA test. You could say a team was ecstatic about winning a contract. A powerful message from a leader can resonate with the employees, meaning they really felt it. A boss can extol or publicly praise their team's great work, and a company's founder can be revered for their incredible vision. So we've covered the good vibes, right? But language needs words for the bad feelings too. So let's flip the coin. What about when you feel the complete opposite of respect? Let's look at words that express really strong negative emotions. All right, on to our second group. This section is all about words for disgust, hatred, and cruelty. These are some pretty intense words, so it's really important you know exactly when and how to use them. Let's break down 3 of these strong negative words. First, repulsive. If something is repulsive, it's so disgusting it almost makes you feel sick. Think of a terrible smell or spoiled food. Next, loathsome. This is for something you truly, deeply hate. You might call an act of extreme cruelty loathsome. And finally, vicious. A vicious attack isn't just violent, it's cruel and intentional. It's about wanting to cause harm. Okay, everyone, pay close attention here, because this is a classic IBA test trap. Notice the spelling. Loathe, with an E at the end, is a verb. It means to hate. I loathe traffic. Simple. But loathe, without the E, is an adjective. It means you're unwilling or reluctant to do something. For example, I was loath to admit I was wrong. One is about feeling hate, the other is about not wanting to do something. Big difference. So, it's one thing to deal with open dislike. But what about when the problem isn't so obvious? What happens when things look fine on the surface, but underneath, something is very, very wrong? And that brings us to a really, really important theme, something you'll definitely see in your reading passages. These are words that all deal with the gap between how things appear to be and what the reality is. Okay, let's look at 2 words that both mean something is fake: sham and charade. Now, they're super similar, but there's a key difference you need to know. So here's the key takeaway. You've got to remember this. A sham is a fake thing or a fake situation. The company's promise was fake, so it was a sham. A charade is a fake performance. It's about people acting or pretending. Their friendly behavior was just an act, so it was a charade. One is a fake thing, the other is a fake action. Here are 2 more great words for hiding the truth. First, a veneer. Think about cheap furniture that has a very thin layer of nice-looking wood on top to hide the cheap stuff underneath. That's a veneer. We also use it for people, like someone who has a veneer of confidence but is actually really nervous inside. Then you have facade. A facade is a false front. A beautiful building can have an impressive facade, and a person can put up a facade of happiness to hide their sadness. And the last word in this group is shroud. Now, this one can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, a shroud is a cloth used to cover something up.
As a verb, to shroud something means to cover it, to hide it, and often to make it mysterious. So if you say the negotiations were shrouded in secrecy, it means all the details were kept completely hidden.
So, if everything is covered by a facade or shrouded in mystery, what do you do? How do you possibly find the truth? Well, that's exactly what our next section is all about. We're going to look at words that are all about the process of uncovering the facts, words that involve being serious, paying close attention, and confirming the truth. So, to investigate something properly, you really need two key ingredients. First, you need the right attitude, and that's solemnity. Solemnity is that quality of being serious and formal. Think about the atmosphere in a courtroom. Second, you need to take the right action, which is to heed advice. To heed a warning means you listen to it carefully and you take it seriously. And these three words perfectly describe the investigation process. Imagine you're a detective. First, you have to sieve through all the information. You filter out the junk to find the important clues. Then, you need to corroborate your theory. That just means you find more evidence to confirm that it's true, like another witness can corroborate your story. And finally, sometimes you might conduct an inquisition, which is a really long and intense period of questioning to get to the bottom of things. Phew, we've been through some pretty heavy stuff, from euphoria to deception to full-blown inquisitions. But what about the simpler words, the ones we use for more common, everyday situations and actions? All right, for our last section, we're going to look at a group of super useful words. These describe different conditions, changes in status or position, and other common actions that you are definitely going to see on your test. This table lays out 6 really practical words. Let's go through them. First, trivial. If something's trivial, it's just not important, it's a small detail. Impersonal describes something that lacks a personal human touch, like a cold, impersonal email. A gesture is simply a meaningful action. The verb alleviate means to make a problem less bad, like taking medicine to alleviate pain. To relegate someone is to move them to a lower, less important rank. And normalcy is the noun for the state of things being, well, normal. And here are some of those words in action. A poor performer might be relegated to a less important job. A good policy could help alleviate stress for employees. A manager might ignore trivial or unimportant complaints. And of course, helping someone is a kind gesture. We also learned impersonal, right? You could say, the giant corporation felt cold and impersonal. And for normalcy, after a big storm, everyone just wanted a return to normalcy. All right, to wrap things up, I want to leave you with a little challenge. We learned that a sham is a fake thing and a charade is a fake performance. As you go about your week, which one do you think you see more often? Something to think about as you continue to practice and master all this new vocabulary.